The morning train moved slowly through the countryside, passing green fields, quiet rivers, and small houses that looked half asleep. Daniel sat by the window with his forehead resting lightly against the glass. The cold from outside touched his skin, but he did not move away. He liked the feeling. It reminded him that the world was real and moving, even if his thoughts felt heavy and still. Daniel was 27 years old, and this was the first time in his life that he was leaving his hometown for longer than a few weeks. The town was small, the kind of place where everyone knew your name, your family, and your past mistakes. For years, Daniel had dreamed about leaving, but when the moment finally came, his chest felt tight, as if he had forgotten something important behind him. In his bag, he carried only a few things: some clothes, a notebook, an old photo of his parents, and a letter he had read many times already. The letter was from his grandmother, written in her slow and careful handwriting. She had given it to him the night before he left. "Open it when the journey feels too long," she had said, smiling gently. Daniel had smiled back, but he had not opened it yet. Somehow he was afraid that if he did, the journey would feel too real. The train stopped at a small station. A woman got on and sat across from him. She was about his age, with dark hair pulled back and curious eyes that looked around as if she were seeing everything for the first time. She smiled politely at Daniel and he smiled back. Then both of them looked away, pretending to be busy with their own thoughts. Daniel watched the fields again. As a child, he used to imagine that the world beyond his town was full of magic and endless possibilities. As he grew older, that imagination slowly faded. Life became more about responsibility than dreams. He worked at a local store, helped his grandmother, paid bills, and repeated the same days again and again. Nothing was wrong exactly, but nothing felt truly alive either. That was why he had decided to accept the job offer in the city. A language school had offered him a position as an assistant teacher. It was not his dream job, but it was a door, and he had learned that doors do not stay open forever. The woman across from him took out a book and began to read. After a few minutes she sighed softly, closed it and looked out the window. "Sorry," she said suddenly, noticing Daniel looking at her. "This book is not as interesting as I hoped." Daniel laughed quietly. "That happens to me often." "What are you reading?" she asked. "Nothing," he replied. "Just thinking." She smiled again. "Thinking can be dangerous on long journeys." "Why?" "Because your thoughts get louder when there is nothing to stop them." Daniel considered this. "I think that's true." They sat in silence for a moment, but it was not uncomfortable. Finally Daniel said, "I'm Daniel." "I'm Sophia." "Are you traveling far?" he asked. "Yes. I'm moving to the city," she said. "New job. New life, maybe." Daniel's heart jumped a little. "Me too." Sophia raised her eyebrows. "Really? What a coincidence." They talked quietly as the train continued its slow movement. Sophia told him she was a graphic designer, and that she felt tired of working from home in a place where nothing ever changed. Daniel shared his story as well, though he left out some of the fear and doubt that still lived inside him. As the hours passed, the landscape changed. Fields turned into factories, rivers into roads, silence into distant noise. Daniel felt something strange growing inside him. It was not happiness exactly, and not fear either. It was closer to hope, but a careful kind of hope, one that did not want to be noticed too quickly. When the train finally reached the city station, the noise hit them like a wave. People moved quickly in every direction. Announcements echoed above their heads. The air smelled of metal, coffee, and rain. Sophia stood up and adjusted her bag. "Well," she said, "this is it." "Yes," Daniel replied. "I guess so." They walked together toward the exit. Outside, the city rose around them with tall buildings and busy streets. Daniel felt small but also strangely excited. "Do you know where you're going?" Sophia asked. "I have an address," he said. "I hope it's enough." She laughed. "That's how I feel too." They stopped at the corner of the station. For a moment, Daniel thought this was where their paths would separate forever. The idea made him feel unexpectedly sad. "Well," Sophia said, hesitating, "maybe we'll see each other again. Cities are big, but sometimes they surprise you." "I hope so," Daniel said honestly. They exchanged numbers, promising nothing but a possible future conversation. Then Sophia disappeared into the crowd. Daniel stood there for a moment, then took a deep breath and began to walk. Every step felt like a sentence in a story he had never read before. The streets were loud, colorful, and full of strangers. Yet somewhere inside, a quiet voice told him that he was exactly where he needed to be. That evening, alone in his small rented room, Daniel finally opened his grandmother's letter. The words were simple, but they touched him deeply. She wrote about courage, about patience, and about trusting the slow direction of life. At the end she wrote, "Remember, the world becomes kinder when you walk toward it with open eyes." Daniel folded the letter carefully and placed it next to his bed. Outside, the city continued to breathe and move. Inside, Daniel closed his eyes, knowing that his journey had only just begun.